Titans, are you tired of playing the boring old Falling Star Thunder Crash build? Are your warlocks demanding that you play that way and calling you a stupid, no orb having loser? Well, no more. Introducing the Rising Storm Arc build. Gone are the days of being on ad clear and not having enough orbs for your teammates. No longer will your well warlocks complain about, there aren't enough orbs. I don't have my well. I can't do DPS without my well. With this build, you alone will supply your team with enough orbs to keep their starved abilities and supers fed. When you are on ad clear, just turn off your mind and punch everything out of existence. So without further ado, let's begin. Starting with the subclass, select the Fists of Havoc super. This super recently was buffed by 33%, so take advantage of all the mayhem you'll be causing to those poor ads. Then we will go ahead and select the Thruster class ability. This baby's gonna come in handy later. You'll see why. Select the Thunderclap melee. Most ads won't have enough health to survive a little tap of this melee, so go wild on those red bar enemies. Now select the Pulse Grenade, because come on, they're the best. Moving on to aspects and fragments, you want to use the Touch of Thunder aspect to buff your Pulse Grenade and have it generate ionic traces for your abilities to recharge faster. Additionally, you should select Knockout, where defeating targets with melee attacks start health regeneration and immediately makes you amplified. On top of that, if you critically wound and or break a combatant's shield with your melee attacks, you gain increased melee damage and range. A good old 1-2 punch. Now on to fragments. You will want to have Spark of Discharge, where arc weapon blows have a chance to create ionic traces. So it's a good thing most of all the damage you'll be doing is arc based. Next is Spark of Amplitude, where rapidly defeating targets while amplified creates an orb of power. Even more ability and super recharge. You gotta love it. Next up is Spark of Resistance, where being surrounded by combatants make you more resistant to incoming damage. Guys, it only takes 3 total enemies to proc Surrounded. And with all the enemies Bungie's throwing at us this season, you'll just feel invincible. Finally, select Spark of Shock, where arc grenades jolt targets. With how big and how long the pulse grenade lasts, you'll see a whole swarm of enemies. Yellow bar, orange bar, or red bar just disappear before your very eyes. Moving on to the weapons, get your hands on Monte Carlo. This beauty is what makes this build the well-oiled machine that it is, where damaging an enemy reduces your melee cooldown and has a chance to fully charge your melee ability on kill. So, in the inevitable moment you miss your charged melee, don't panic. Just whip out your trusty Monte Carlo and get a few kills and bam, you can get right back to punching without skipping a beat. I also should mention that its secondary trait, Markov Chain, gains increased damage from melee kills and kills with this weapon. And melee kills reload this weapon. Guys, this is basically just Demolitionist, but for your melee ability. It's a perfect combination. Moving on to the secondary weapon of the build, I recommend Sweet Sorrow with enhanced triple tap and Demolitionist, so you can get your grenades back faster and take advantage of that huge mag size with triple tap. With the added benefit of it being an arc auto rifle, kills with Sweet Sorrow will be causing explosions because of the seasonal artifact. Another option that I thought was pretty good was the Ikelos SMG with Volt Shot. Both are excellent options that allow for different playstyles, but I personally select Sweet Sorrow because of the huge mag size and the Demolitionist perk. Sweet Sorrow's origin trait, Land Tank, grants a stacking increase to resilience and damage resistance from combatants. This gun will help keep you alive when mowing down hordes of Taken this season. So you have 2 auto rifles that help you handle 2 of your abilities at once. Monte Carlo for melee and Sweet Sorrow for grenades. It's so efficient, it's beautiful. For heavy weapons, y'all should go with a Hothead with Explosive Light and Demolitionist. With all the orbs that you're going to be making, you're almost always going to have a fully procced Explosive Light. Now, if you don't have a God roll, don't panic. you can focus the Hothead rocket launcher with the Vanguard engrams in the Legacy gear tab at Zavala at the tower. So get your hands on a god roll. But if RNG isn't on your side, use any arc, machine gun, or grenade launcher to keep you going until you get that Hothead. Now the seasonal artifacts: Thunderous Retort amped up, Lightning Strikes twice, and the creme de la crop, Shock and Awe. You'll never see a group of enemies disappear faster with this artifact. Trust me, it's nasty. Moving on to the armor and mods, we say hello to the star of the build, an insurmountable Skull Fort, where kills with arc melee abilities trigger health regeneration and fully restore melee energy. Now slap on the following mods: Power Preservation for more orbs for your allies when you get kills with your super. And trust me, you are going to be making a lot of orbs using Fists of Havoc. Then put on a Kinetic and Arc Siphon mod to generate orbs with both Monte Carlo and Sweet Sorrow. Easy peasy. Before we start with the rest of the mods, make sure for this build you don't have any strength mods equipped boosting your stats, because Monte Carlo and Skull Fort will be taking care of your melee abilities, so boost other stats that you need. Now moving on, for your arms, Impact Induction, Firepower, and Heavy-Handed. Benefits here include generating orbs with melee and grenades, and dealing damage with melee abilities recharges your grenades. And you'll be doing a lot of damage to multiple targets at once, making your recharge for your grenade fast as hell. For your chest, double arc reserves and emergency reinforcement. When your shields become broken, gain temporary damage reduction, allowing you to stay in the fight longer and giving you a chance to either get away to safety or get another melee kill to start healing again. This will bail you out, like many times it's bailed me out and saved my ass when I put myself in harm's way. Put this bad boy on. For your legs, run double arc surge and recuperation. You won't need to worry about being overwhelmed when enemies keep giving you healing orbs, right? Show no fear with this build, Titans. Finally, your mark. Powerful Attraction and Double Bomber. Remember when I said to use the Thruster class ability? This is why. With Thruster, you stay on the move while using your class ability. This works flawlessly with Powerful Attraction, as it sends out a big shockwave that picks up nearby orbs of power, and in combination with Recuperation, you just pop your class ability and you basically pick up all the nearby health packs like you were the Doomslayer doing a finisher. Additionally, with Thruster being on such a short cooldown, using it recharges your grenade cooldown. In the end, the Rising Storm build is full speed, unrivaled aggression to the max. So let's go down the list of pros and cons for the Rising Storm build. Pros: top tier burst damage to groups. Crowd control monster. Really nothing is going to be in your way if you're an ad clear, that's for sure. Great survivability. It's a low risk, high reward gameplay loop where all you gotta do is tap a button and a huge group of enemies is gone, and you've generated a ton of orbs for your teammates and yourself. Weapons and perks play into each other flawlessly. Monte Carlo's melee recharge ability to just fully reset it on every kill you get. With Sweet Sorrow's enhanced demolitionist, you get your grenade back in like 3-4 kills. It's just really efficient between those two auto rifles, and you'll just be having fun. This build also is just a great orb generator for you and your fire team. Long as it's a multi-kill or some kind of group kill, you're generating an orb. Not to mention that Fists of Havoc is going to be making tons of orbs, especially if you leap into the air and slam down into just a group of enemies. You'll be spawning anywhere from 17 to like 28 orbs of power if you're able to find a group big enough. Also, this build is just flat out fun as hell. This build is just a good turn your brain off and just smash and blast everything out of your way. It's just easy to use and fun to use. The build is also raid and GM viable. Now let's move on to the cons. It has a weak neutral game, meaning you need to be amplified to take advantage of most of the benefits I've listed here. You need to have some kind of armor charge, and you have to be amplified to really be able to take advantage of all that extra damage for your melee, grenade, and auto rifle and rocket launcher. You need to have that armor charge charge and be amplified if you want to take advantage of it. Sure, there's another mod that increases the length that you can be amplified, but in the end, once that timer is gone, you gotta end up resetting it. It's not the hardest thing in the world, but it's not a constant buff that will stay with you for a long time. Another weakness of this build is that it is only effective in close range. Your range is significantly reduced, so if there are enemies that are snipers, they're gonna end up picking you off if you aren't running away from them and taking cover, or you just blast right at them. You take a beeline and go to kill them, or else you're kind of just gonna get picked off by snipers. But that's not its role to be in long range. It's only good in ad clear scenarios. That's its role. It's good for moving around the arena and getting rid of all the ads that would slowly pepper down your health and make your damage phase harder. That role is what this build is for. It is specifically to just get up in the face of ads and be the distraction for all of the enemies. But if you play that role and you play it well, I'm pretty sure your fire team's going to appreciate you. But that is the only role it can effectively play. Also, this build is hungry. You're always going to have to be feeding the build to keep momentum and damage going. It's a greedy build that constantly needs you to keep it amplified. You're gonna have to keep moving and killing and killing. It's a volatile build. You need to really keep it on the up and up, or you're gonna be really down in the dumps in terms of damage output. In my opinion, I think the Rising Storm build is one of the most fun builds you can use in the game. But even I have to admit, it is limited by its poor range and usage ability. So out of 10, I will rate the Rising Storm build a fair 8 out of 10. The biggest knock on this build really is the lack of range for this build and its ability to counter range. But on the other side of that same coin, you wouldn't use a shotgun to snipe somebody, right? It has its role as a constant moving freight train of lightning and thunder. Thank you so much for watching, and let me know what kind of builds you want to see next in the comments, and vote on my builds in my polls. I very much would appreciate criticism and ideas that you have that might help me improve my build crafting. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Until next time, TG out.